Terminology. Cyber has a range of terminology that is a little bit different to others, but what's important is to have an understanding of the typical terminology in an incident, particularly where the federal arena with the Australian Cybersecurity, the ACSC Centre, is involved. So cybersecurity, digital assets, it's protecting them. Physical, logical controls, so this means locks on doors for areas, we've got swipe cards to get in, things like that. A cybersecurity event is where there's a possible problem, but we haven't managed to investigate it yet to find out what it is. A cybersecurity alert is detecting something in the environment which says we need to investigate. Not normal, we don't know what it is, it might be all right, but we need to investigate. An incident is a series of, or might be a single event, but it's often a series of events, impacts confidentiality, integrity, availability, sometimes safety. So that's called CIA. You'll hear it, and people will say the CIA or the CIA triad. So information that's stored, that's processed, that's communicated. Do we want to lose data? Do we want to lose access to it? All forms of cybersecurity incident. A national incident is something which is across multiple Australian jurisdictions, and typically the ACSC in Canberra would be managing that. A Tas government cybersecurity incident is across multiple Tasmanian government agencies, might not be in any other state. 2 or 3 agencies here involved, again, coordinate it and control it centrally. Acronyms, the world loves acronyms. So the first one, ACSC, Australian Cybersecurity Centre. JCSC is the Joint Cybersecurity Centre. It's part of Army. It's in Sydney. Sorry, not Sydney. Well, it has offices in Sydney, but the headquarters is in Canberra. There's offices in every capital in Australia now, excepting for Hobart. We're now considered part of Melbourne for that. And they provide coordination and support for cyber incidents, plus training. Their offices are usually pretty good, and you can go in and have meetings and things there. CERT, Cyber Emergency Response Team, also called a Cyber Incident Response Team. Basically, that's the assembled team for any given incident. And as you saw from the roles and responsibilities, the range of people, different incidents have a different formation of the CERT or CERT, depending on the incident. CIA, I talked about a little bit before, confidentiality and integrity and availability. Often you'll see safety added to it. So a building management system that includes a lift or heating and ventilation systems. If they're impacted, it might impact the safety. So you'll often see CIAS in a modern perspective on it. CIMT, the incident management team. So this is the management as opposed to the CIRT, which is the response team. CTI, cyber threat intelligence. During an incident, it's nice to be able to get information that gives you an idea on what the adversary is likely to do. Doesn't mean we want to know who it is. In fact, it's pretty rare that you can get that far. But it's nice to know what their likely next move is, and that's called cyber threat intelligence or cybersecurity threat intelligence. NIST, a lot of the documentation used in cybersecurity space comes from NIST in the USA, so you'll tend to see them bandied around quite a bit. OSINT and OPSEC, open source intelligence. If you can go to Google and say, tell me about whatever, and you get something back, that's open source intelligence. If you have to log into a database at somewhere to find some information, that's no longer open source, that's closed source intelligence. Operational security, if I go into Google and say, tell me about DPAC and Tasmania government, I'll find some information. If I do it about an individual, the Premier, for example, I might find some information. So what I can put on the web, what I can find out about others, they can find out about me. And during an incident response, I don't often want them to know about me. So operational security is protecting things of value that you don't want the adversary to find out about. It might also be limiting the information that goes up on the website about a department so that the adversary can't find out things, do reconnaissance beforehand. Playbooks, guidelines to help during an incident, and they range from KBs, knowledge-based articles for a help desk, where it says, if you see this, do this, i.e. if you see this malware on a machine or something happens like this, rebuild the machine. That's a playbook. It's also, you can also have much more comprehensive ones, which are guidelines for incident management, incident controllers, to don't forget during an incident, don't forget that it might be a data breach, and these are the stakeholders that you may need to advise. So it's a list of potential things to do, not a checkbox list. TGCST, Tas Government Cybersecurity Team in DSS, and TLP, Traffic Light Protocol for Sharing. So, a little bit too quick. During an incident or generally in cyberspace, we may or may not want to share information. When we share it, it might be quite sensitive, or it might be in the newspaper. The TLP protocol, so we've got a red light, we've got an amber light, we've got a green light, let you do different things. And I've got a screen in a moment which I'll go through it in detail. Tas Government response levels. The arrow on the right-hand side is pointing at lean forward. January 2022, the cybersecurity environment in Tasmanian government is currently in lean forward. It's slightly elevated because of a particular vulnerability out there that everybody's investigating. Normally, and in a few weeks, we'll probably go back to normal conditions, which is business as usual, nothing special, day-to-day activities continue. As things get more active, so we're in lean forward at the moment, if we actually had some of those vulnerabilities triggered and adversaries managed to do things, we would move through to Tasmanian Government Alert or perhaps cybersecurity incident level. Depends on the incident, and if it was an incident that went across multiple agencies and was causing serious harm, we would have a Tasmanian cybersecurity crisis. At the moment, we're in lean forward, which is, and we only went to that 2 weeks ago. So generally, we're at normal conditions. TLP, Traffic Light Protocol, that I talked about. So when should it be used and how should you share it? So red is can't disclose it. If I'm in a meeting with half a dozen people and I say this information is TLP red, that means that that group can use the information, but they can't tell anybody else. If they want to inform anybody else, they have to come back to the person who said this information is TLP red. So if I ran the meeting and said this is TLP red, they'd have to come to me and say, I really need to share it with a system admin. We know and trust them, etc., and I could go yes or no. So really is tightly controlled. TLP Amber is limited disclosure. You need to give it to the help desk team to be able to do something. You can share within your own organisation, but it's still need to know. It's still not give to everybody. It's within the help desk team. It's within the IT team. It's add legal, add HR. It's within that team that you assign it to. TLP White is the community. So this would be all of the IT help desks and all of the agencies. Send them information about a particular thing. Don't send it to external organisations. Keep it within our community, but it's that group. And finally, TLP White is basically, it's in the newspapers, it's public. There's talk about making that one not TLP White, but calling it TLP Public. So it's basically, it's limited by copyright as opposed to I will or won't share it. Typically at the start of an incident, you're at TLP Red. That might change within minutes or hours. It might stay like that for a couple of days. Over time, more people will learn about it. You need to involve others. It'll generally move to TLP Amber fairly quickly. But again, you need to control the information. It's still need to know. So, and it depends on it. So remember TLP, if somebody says, oh, this is TLP Red, what they're saying is don't share it with anybody else.